100 years of a deceased body that did not decay. Food remained intact as if it had just been served. Yet, the donkey that accompanied him was reduced to a lonely skeleton. How was it possible for a human, long absent from the earth, to suddenly be resurrected while the world around him has totally changed, as if he had only slept through a single silent second? This story of Prophet Ezra is not just a miracle, but also a great secret in the Quran. His body seemed to stop in one dimension, while time kept spinning in another. The question is, can time be different for every creature? Strangely, thousands of years later, Einstein's theory of relativity discusses a similar thing. Time dilation, a meeting point between revelation and science that not only shocks the mind but also penetrates it. This is the story of Prophet Ezra, a spiritual journey that unlocks the secrets of time. Watch the full story only on Nurakulta. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Imagine a city once full of life, now destroyed, silent, and abandoned. Its walls have collapsed, its streets are empty, and life seems to have vanished. The Quran immortalizes this moment in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 259, or consider, such is the one who passed by a township which had fallen into ruin. He said, how will Allah bring this to life after its death? In the tafsirs of Ibn Kathir and At-Tabari, it is mentioned that the servant referred to is Ezra in the Jewish tradition, known by the name Ezra, alayhi salam, from among the children of Israel. However, other commentators consider Ezra to be merely a righteous servant. At this point, it is important to understand one thing. The majority of scholars mention that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent approximately 124,000 prophets and 313 messengers, and almost most of them were sent to the children of Israel. So it is no wonder that many major events are recorded in their history, including this story of Ezra. Ezra, alayhi salam, was a steadfast believer who memorized the Torah and was known for his great piety, so all his prayers to Allah were answered. When he passed by the devastated city, he witnessed with his own eyes how severe the destruction was. His question was born not from doubt, but from astonishment full of contemplation. How will Allah bring this to life after its death? This question became the prelude to a major event, a real demonstration of Allah's power in resurrecting the dead. But before understanding that extraordinary event, we need to trace what actually happened to that city. How could a once prosperous nation collapse completely until nothing remained but ruins and silence? Imam Ibn Kathir wrote in his tafsir that the city mentioned in the Quran, Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 259, is Jerusalem, which is a widely accepted view. Here we return to history. When Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, set foot in Jerusalem, that holy city transformed from a center of civilization into a dead city. Around 587 BC, the great Neo-Babylonian Empire under King Nebuchadnezzar II turned its attention to ancient Jerusalem, the magnificent holy city that had once been the center of civilization, a spiritual hub and home to the children of Israel. At that time, the sacred Temple of Solomon, built by Prophet Solomon, alayhi salam, stood majestically. The markets were bustling. Prayers and songs of God's worshippers filled the air. Every street, every corner of the city radiated life and hope, making it a prime target for conquest by the Babylonian king. All of that changed in an instant. Nebuchadnezzar's troops destroyed the strong walls, razed the Temple of Solomon to the ground, and burned many parts of the Torah. The surviving inhabitants were taken captive, transported to Babylon. The city that was once magnificent and pulsating, with prayers and life now only, left behind ruins, dust, and eerie silence. The streets once busy with traders were now empty. Altars and places of worship that once radiated the light of faith were leveled with the ground. All symbols of human glory, built with perseverance and faith, vanished in an instant. History records the destruction of Jerusalem not merely as a physical disaster, but also as a test of faith. The community's life was shaken, remaining traditions were almost lost, and the generation that knew the city as it was before was nearly extinct. This event is a real historical miracle and a lesson for future generations. It shows how Allah's power governs the rise and fall of life and the history of humankind. Amidst that destruction emerged a figure who would become a witness to divine power, Ezra, alayhi salam. He walked through the destroyed city, leading his donkey and carrying simple provisions, figs, grapes, and water. His heart was broken seeing such severe destruction, reminding him of the transient nature of this world and making him question, how will Allah bring this to life after its death? From this point, Ezra's journey with his donkey would begin, to witness and experience firsthand the demonstration of divine power. One day, he intended to leave his house with his kimar, or beloved donkey. He led his donkey until he arrived at a city, Jerusalem. His steps were heavy. Every corner he passed reflected silence. Upon reaching a point, Ezra felt tired. He tied his donkey near a tree that was still standing, then opened his provisions. He bit into a fig, squeezed grapes into fresh juice, and drank water to quench his thirst. Before him stretched the vast destruction of Jerusalem, a sight that would tear anyone's heart. From the depths of his heart, he uttered with great astonishment, how will Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring this to life after its death? Al-Baqarah 259. The commentators emphasize that this question was not doubt, but the contemplation of a believer. Ezra wanted to know how long it would take for this devastated city to come back to life, beautiful and bustling as before. While gazing at the silent ruins, Ezra lay down his body. That afternoon, under the scorching sun, he intended only to rest for a moment. But Allah had a much greater plan. He fell asleep not for a day, not for half a day, but for 100 years. Some scholars interpret that at that moment, Allah caused Ezra to die, wafat, then returned his soul after a century had passed. This is mentioned explicitly in the Quran. This differs from the story of the people of the cave, Ashabul Kahf, who were put to sleep for a very long time without being caused to die. The event of Ezra becomes a real demonstration of Allah's power, that He is able to give death to the living, give life to the dead, and make time seem to vanish in His grasp. This is the beginning of the great miracle. 100 years would pass, and later Allah would wake Ezra again to be a living witness for His people. Day turned to night, season to year, but Ezra's body remained lying in its place, intact without signs of decay or injury. The provisions he brought, figs, grapes, and a vessel of water, remained fresh as if just prepared. Meanwhile, his donkey did not share the same fate. Slowly, its flesh disappeared, its skin decomposed, until all that remained was a skeleton of scattered bones on the ground. In the dimension of life, history marched on. In the first 70 years, Jerusalem, which had been leveled and devastated, began to rise again. Buildings stood once more, markets became bustling again, the sound of prayer echoed again in houses of worship. Slowly, the dead city began to pulse with life again. However, Ezra did not witness any of this. He had truly died. His soul was taken. For a full 100 years he was absent from the world. A period of 100 years enveloped him like a single breath. The twilight light swept over the ruins of the old city. Slowly, light penetrated his vision, and Ezra opened his eyes. He awoke feeling light, as if he had only slept for a short while. His gaze fell on the figs and grapes beside him. They were still fresh, unchanged. Then he heard the voice of the Almighty Creator ask, "How long have you remained asleep?" Confused, Ezra replied, "Perhaps half a day or a day," but Allah affirmed, "No, you have remained asleep for 100 years. Quran, Surah al-Baqarah, 259. Ezra's body trembled. 100 years? He was stunned and turned to look at his provisions, the figs and grape juice he brought 100 years ago. Miraculously, they were still fresh as if just picked yesterday. But when his gaze fell on his donkey, only dry bones were scattered on the ground. Here, Allah showed a tangible proof of resurrection. The children of Israel gathered because they knew that only Ezra had previously memorized the Torah, while the book itself had been burned by Nebuchadnezzar's troops. They demanded proof. If you are truly Ezra, rewrite the Torah for us. With Allah's permission, Ezra's alayhis salam memory was strengthened. He rewrote the Torah from beginning to end without missing a single letter. His people were astonished. But behind that admiration, some of them slipped. They said, Ezra is the son of God, a false claim that was then immortalized in his verse. The Jews say, Ezra is the son of Allah, and the Christians say, the Messiah is the son of Allah. That is their statement from their mouths. They imitate the saying of those who disbelieved before them. May Allah destroy them. How are they deluded? Surah At-Tawbah 30. Ezra's return is not just the story of a prophet. It is a reminder of how history, miracles, and human weakness can meet in a single event. It is tangible proof of resurrection, but also proof of how belief can slip from Tawhid monotheism towards misguidance. Behind this amazing story, there is a great mystery that shakes the human mind. How is it possible that the body and food of Ezra, alayhi salam, remained fresh even though 100 years had passed? The Quran does not say that the food decayed and then was restored to freshness. Rather, Allah affirms, look at your food and your drink. They have not changed. Surah al-Baqarah 259. This is a miracle. But can science give us a picture as a rational approach about this extraordinary phenomenon? Modern science opens a discussion about time. Albert Einstein, in his theory of relativity, showed that time is not something absolute. It can slow down or speed up depending on conditions. This phenomenon is called time dilation. If a person is in a very strong gravitational field, each second for them will pass more slowly compared to someone outside that field. What is 100 years for us could feel like only a day for someone inside it. Furthermore, modern physicists propose ideas about higher dimensions. String theory speaks of a universe composed of more dimensions than we can see. Meanwhile, M-theory mentions up to 11 dimensions where time does not always flow uniformly. In a different dimensional space, 1 century in our world could be equivalent to just a blink of an eye. As we have explained in the Neuroculta video, titled The Logic of Science and Spirituality, in the journey of Prophet Musa and Khidr, alayhim salam, in the story of Prophet Ezra, 100 years felt like half a day. Modern physicists talk about higher dimensions. 1 century in our world could be equivalent to a blink of an eye. Two different languages, revelation and science, seem to point in the same direction. That time is not an absolute straight line, but rather a creation of Allah that can expand, contract, or even stop instantly. We can also compare it to the story of the people of the cave, Ashabul Kahf. The youths who slept for a very long time, yet felt as if it were only a day. The difference is that the people of the cave were in deep sleep, while Ezra was truly caused to die for a full 100 years. Two different events, but both show how time can be perceived very differently. If we imagine Ezra's body and food being placed by Allah in a space with a different flow of time, whether through extreme gravitational laws or higher dimensions, inaccessible to humans, then the preservation of that body and food is not an impossibility within a scientific framework. However, all this remains speculation. Science can only provide analogies, not a final explanation. The true reality is known only to Allah. This event is a sign of His greatness, not merely a cosmic puzzle. From this story, we are reminded, if Allah is able to resurrect Ezra after 100 years, then resurrecting all of humanity on the final day is something that will certainly happen. This is the grand message that makes this story never fade. That death is not the end, but a door to resurrection. Are we truly prepared to face that resurrection? What do you think? Does this story amaze you more about science, or does it make you submit even more to Allah's power? Write your opinion in the comments column. Because Neuroculta always presents a space for discussion between history, science, and faith. And remember, the ultimate truth belongs only to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yeah.